June is currently sucking the glue. Not long after that, there's a man approaching him named Min. Min is a teacher who loves to help kids with scarred hearts. June feels uncomfortable with Min's presence, so he tells him to go away, but Min keeps staying there, talking with June until the morning comes. Suddenly, the scene moves to one morning where there are several news about some high school student committed suicide because of the pain and suffering they get caused by their classmates who had bullied them. One day, in the middle of the street, Min sees one of his students is working at night and he feels sorry for her. The following day, there's a student, called Jigun, who fell asleep in class. Jigun really hates it if someone disturbs him while he's sleeping. Suddenly, one of his classmates nudges his table that makes Jigun's stationery fall and wakes him up. They almost get into a fight if their teacher, Min, comes to their class a little bit late. At night, Jigun's friends, Yun and Yongju, are sitting together. They are talking about the fight that Jigun almost had this afternoon. Yun asks Jigun why he gets angry easily and Jigun replies because the person pissed him off. Yongju then asks Yun and Jigun to take a selfie together and the three of them decide to reconcile. Yongju asks them to eat together, but Yun refuses because she has work to do and she leaves the two of them alone. Jigun also refuses to eat with Yongju because they don't have any money left. He asks Yongju to go home instead. On their way home, they see a drunk man laying in the middle of the street. Slowly, Jigun takes the man's wallet and they run away to a nearby restaurant to eat. The next day, Jigun falls asleep during his class and wakes up after the class ends. He then talks with Yongju whether he should take a part-time job to gain some money. Yongju thinks it's a good idea, so he wants to take a part-time job too, but Jigun forbids him. Out of nowhere, one of their classmates, Sungt, kicks Jigun's foot deliberately and makes Jigun angry. Jigun hits him a few times until his teacher Min stops him and brings both of them to his office. After giving them advice, Min asks Jigun to stay so he can talk with him alone. Min asks Jigun about Yun, who he previously saw, was working the night shift. Min knows that Jigun is Yun's best friend and he thought that Jigun might know about his best friend's condition. However, Jigun doesn't know anything about it and tells Min to ask Yun himself. Before Jigun leaves, Min tells him that if something happens to him or his friends, he should talk to Min. The scenes move into a few years ago where Min had a student who was addicted to glue named June, the guy who appeared in the beginning of the movie. After they talked all night, they both ate together and Min drove June home. Arriving at June's home, Min met with June's mother who was sick. Min also saw a picture of June's father who passed away when June was only 3 years old. June's mother told him that his father died because of a fight between gangs. June's mother also told Min that June was always getting bullied since he was a kid because he liked to gather leftover food for her mother and made a toast with it. When he grows up, June follows his father's path by joining a biker gang, and for 4 years, June is tied to a drug network that made his mother devastated. Min then tried to get close to him and managed to set June free from his father's path. He also asked June to sleep in his house a few times. Later on, June wants to approach Min while Min is with friends. June asks him if he could take him to a professional to help him quit the drugs. Min read it quickly and folded the piece of newspaper coldly. June then misunderstood him and thought that he's not special since Min chose his friend over June. June then back to his old habit and decided to commit suicide by standing in the middle of the road until a truck hit him. Min was devastated because of that incident. Since then, he promises himself not to repeat the same mistake again and tries to help his students who are in trouble. Time passes, and at the present, Min receives another student who needs his attention. The first is Jigun, the only child from a poor mother. The second is Yongju, a child from a heavy drunkard's father. And the third is Yun, a schoolgirl who works while attending school. One night, the three of them gather together and Jigun tells them that if they want to eat something they can ask Min, but they ignore Jigun. Later on, Jigun can't fall asleep because he was thinking of what Min said to him at school this morning. He then hears a sound outside his house and checks it out. It turns out that the sound comes from his drunk uncle who sneaks into his house. His uncle asks about Jigun's mother's whereabouts and then beats Jigun a few times. Jigun then goes to Yongju's place to sleep, but he still can't fall asleep there because Yongju's father is drunk. Jigun decides to leave again. When he is on his way back to his home, he meets with Suyin, a girl whose hobby is reading and also a girl he quietly likes. Suyin manages to brighten Jigun's mood and she tells Jigun that she will meet him in the next 2 days on Jigun's birthday. The following day at the class, Jigun is chatting with Suyin telling how happy he was to meet Suyin yesterday, but at the same time Sungt read their conversation. On the outside, Yongju sees a police's car in front of the school. Yongju then sneaks into the teacher room to hear the conversation between the police and his teacher. It turns out that they all are watching CCTV footage when Jigoon took a drunk man's wallet a few days ago. Yongju rushes to the class and brings Jigoon outside. He tells Jigoon about the CCTV footage and they both skip school together. Not long after that, Sung approaches both of them. At the school, Min tells Yun to come to his office and asks her about Yongju and Jigoon's whereabouts. Min assures Yun that his intention is to help solve their problem. Unfortunately, Yun tells Min that she doesn't know where they are right now. Sung then invites Yongju and Jigoon to hide in his apartment. Arriving at Sung's apartment, Yongju and Jigoon find high school girl in Sung's bedroom. Sung tells them that she's a runaway and he's letting her stay at his apartment for a while. They don't believe him and Sung replies that they are welcome to play with her and he leaves them alone to buy fried chicken. On the other side, Min visits Jigoon's house and meets with his mother to find out where his students are. Instead of telling Jigoon's location, his mother and uncle tell Min that he can expel Jigoon if he causes any trouble. Back at Sung's apartment, Jigoon, Yongju, and the girl are eating and talking. It turns out that the three of them have a similar situation, which is they have parents who don't really care about them. Few moments later, Sung asks the girl to get ready for work because Sung doesn't allow her to live in his apartment for free. Jigoon then gets mad when he hears the girl has to pay. Jigoon tells her to go back to her house right away. Because of Yongjo and Jigoon, the girl leaves the three of them alone. At the same time, Min keeps looking for Jigoon and Yongju. He is worried about the safety of his students since he hasn't been able to contact them. He decides to look for them in an internet cafe, but still he doesn't find them. His intention is only to help them solve their problem, not to put them in jail. Few hours later, Yun, Yongju, and Jigoon are sitting together. Yun and Yongju are confused about how to solve Jigoon's problems. They both offer Jigoon a place to stay, but Jigoon refuses because he doesn't like Yun and Yongju's parents. Yun then advises Jigoon to ask for Min's help, but he ignores her and goes to his house to pick up his motorcycle. At his house, Jigoon's mother asks him if he has another place to sleep and he replies that he has one. Jigoon's mother is about to cry when she sees her only child leave with his motorcycle. Afterwards, on the bus, Yongju gets a text from one of his classmates who asks him for money. He ignores the text and looks at the sky, feeling amazed by the airplane. He wonders when he will be able to get on an airplane. Meanwhile, Jigoon temporarily lives in Sung's apartment and Yongju goes back to his home. At Yongju's house, his father gets angry because there is a guest who keeps knocking on their front door. Yongju opens the door and finds Min standing there. Min tells him that he was looking for him and Jigoon all day and he asks Yongju to call him if he meets Jigoon. Min also tells him to go back to school tomorrow. The next morning at the class, Yun and Yongju stare at Jigoon's empty desk and they both feel sad because their best friend doesn't attend school anymore. Yun then goes straight to the cafeteria and approaches Suyun, who eats alone. Suyun asks Yun how Jigoon is doing lately, but Yun doesn't know how to answer that. Yun asks Suyun if she is dating Jigoon and Suyun just replies with a smile. Yun tells Suyun that tomorrow is Jigoon's birthday and asks her if she knows Jigoon's plan for his birthday, but Suyun answers it with a smile again. When they both walk outside the cafeteria, Sung overheard Suyun and Yun's conversation. When the night comes, Jigoon is lost in his thoughts, staring at Suyun's messages to him. Not long after that, Yongju appears and advises Jigoon to talk to Min. Yongju assures Jigoon that Min's intention is only to help him solve his problems. Jigoon then looks at his call history on his phone. He finds that Min has already called him a few times, but Jigoon still doesn't want to call him back. The next day, it was Jigoon's birthday. Sung suddenly approaches Suyun at school and tells her that Jigoon is throwing a birthday party at his place. Sung has also called Yongju to convince Suyun. Yongju then calls Jigoon right away to tell him that Sung is throwing a birthday party for him and brings Suyun to his apartment. Jigoon hangs up the calls and immediately rushes towards Sung's apartment. Meanwhile, Yongju tries to call Yun to invite him to the party at Sung's apartment. Yongju then realizes that the party is just an excuse and he runs towards Sung's apartment. However, on his way to approach Suyun, Yongju is being confronted by three guys he doesn't know. On the other side, Yun immediately calls Min, asking for his help to save Jigoon at Sung's apartment. Few moments later, Jigoon manages to arrive and open Sung's apartment. He sees Suyun is already hurt. Filled with anger, Jigoon beats Sung with no mercy. Meanwhile, Yongju, who is confronted by the three guys earlier, is getting beaten brutally by them. It turns out that the three guys who beat Yongju are his school friends who always ask him for money. Yongju got beaten because he didn't give them the money 2 days in a row. The three guys leave and Yongju walks limping towards the airport, enduring the pain. On the other side, Soo-yeon walks towards their school and Ji-geun rides his motorcycle at high speed that causes an accident. Luckily, Ji-geun is not seriously injured. Ji-geun then realizes that his phone is ringing. He picks the call that is from Min for the very first time. Ji-geun says that he can't contact Youngju and Soo-yeon at the moment and Ji-geun cries in frustration. A moment later, Min approaches him and tries to calm him down. The next morning, Soo-yeon is already at her class. She feels despair and wants to end her life. Not long after that, there is a great sound from the apartment building. The sound comes from a student who commits suicide and left suicide note that outlines the pain and suffering he endured caused by his classmates' harassment. The student who commits suicide turns out to be Youngju. At the funeral, Min approaches Ji-geun who feels sad staring at Youngju's picture. Ji-geun places their picture together there. Yoon is also crying that she lost her best friend. The following day, Ji-geun and Soo-yeon make a place for students who run away from their home. The next morning, Yoon goes to Min's office and gives him a letter that indicates she wants to drop out from school. However, Min forbade her because Min is a smart girl and he rips out the letter. At night, Min goes to the place Yoon usually works and meets up with the owner. He tells the owner that Yoon will stop working at her place because Yoon is such a smart girl and from now on she will focus with her school. From everything that happened in Min's life, the lesson learned is that he needs to spend more time with his students not because they are precious, but because they are at the edge of a cliff. Kids go through more failures than successes and adults lose hope for kids so easily. Everybody is stained and even kids are stained too. However, it's not right to let them hide in darkness when there are many opportunities ahead of them. Kids won't lose hope if there is just one person to listen to them and just one person to say that it's okay to fail and say to them that I went through the same thing. Through living, kids will learn life by meeting with different people and eventually have a chance to find happiness. The movie ends with Jun's note in the piece of newspaper he gave to Min that indicates a thank you letter for taking care of him like a father. Therefore, to the kids out there, you aren't failures. Any failures and choices you make, will be right there and help you through it. Subscribe to watch more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like and comment to help the channel out. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.